Hello and welcome to my Moon Knight review. So this is episode 2, Summon the Suits. And yeah, we had the story really pick up in this episode. Let's just get right into it. So we pretty much start off where the last one ended up with. We start off with obviously a quick recap. Steven was being attacked by a jackal inside the museum bathroom actually, and he eventually gives his body to Mark Spector, and Mark summons the suit and defeats the jackal, and then Steven wakes up at home. And that's where episode 2 starts. Episode 2 starts with Steven waking up at home, and everything appears to be a nightmare. His foot's still locked. There's still no footprints in the sand. The tape is still on the door. So he assumes it's a nightmare until he shows up for work. When he shows up for work, that's when he realizes that some of the museum is damaged, especially the bathroom, and he realizes, oh crap, everything is real. Like, all that actually happened. Why he keeps going back to work, I have no idea. This is the thing that, like, I get why they do it. They're doing it because we need it to advance the plot. But in terms of, like, actual character, why would he do any of this stuff? He went to the museum, and then he got accosted by Arthur and Arthur's cult members, and they threatened to kill him. So then he decides to go back to the museum again that night, where he gets attacked by a jackal that almost kills him. And now he decides to go back to the museum again the next day. Like, dude, stop going to the damn museum. Like, why would you keep going to the place where every time you've gone there, like the last few times you've gone there, you've almost gotten killed? Like, are you just asking for punishment at this point in time? But he goes there so that we can advance the plot. But it's stupid. Like, if you have to have your character do stupid things to keep the plot going, then you should fix the plot. But yeah, he goes back to the museum, realizes that everything was actually real. He talks to his security guard, and he wants to see the footage. And when they watch the footage, they don't see the jackal. They don't see any of that. All they see is Steven running around and acting like a fool. And so the museum is under the impression that he's the one that did all this stuff, that he was just having some kind of mental breakdown or something. So they sack him, but they are like, there's a nice hospital that can help treat you, but we're gonna have to let you go. And so they let him go, and he's trying to figure out, like, okay, what can I do to find some answers? Like, what the hell's going on with this? Like, why do I keep blacking out? Why do weird things keep happening? What the hell is going on? And then he remembers the key for the storage locker that he had. So he goes to all the different places with that logo, with that same company. And then eventually he finds a place where the employee recognizes him. He's like, oh yeah, like, I recognize you. I can take you to your locker. So he takes him to the locker. There's this weird moment where as they're walking towards his locker, like, all the lights are off and only the ones above them flicker on. And I'm like, why would you do that? Like, is this just like cinematically, might look good or something? It's weird. Like, I get why they do it later on, but it's just like, that's not how it works. Once you turn on the lights, all the lights will flash on. You're not going to have like individual lights go on as you're walking, and then the ones behind you shut off automatically. That whole thing is just dumb. But yeah, he finds the locker that belongs to Mark Spector. He goes inside, and he sees a cot, and he sees a closet with some military clothes, it looks like, and he sees a duffel bag. And he decides to go through the duffel bag. And as he goes through the duffel bag, first thing he finds is a gun, which he puts on the cot. Then he finds a bunch of money. He finds a passport that says Mark Spector on it, so now he knows Mark's last name. And as he's doing this, Mark appears in the reflection. Mark's telling him, like, don't look in the bag. Don't, like, just stop what you're doing. Just give me control of your body. And Steven's like, no, I'm not going to do that. And Mark's like, give me control of your body. Just go to sleep in that cot. I'll take control. I have a mission. I can't let you stop me from doing this mission. Once this mission is done, then you'll never see from me again. But I have to do this first. And Steven's like, no, like, every time I let you take control, something terrible happens. So I'm not going to give you control of this body anymore. And yeah, he eventually finds the golden scarab inside the duffel bag. And as he pulls it on, it activates, and the top half comes out, and it starts pointing to something. And he realizes that this is a compass, but it's not pointing north. So he's like, where is this pointing to? And then his talk with Mark basically devolves into a shouting match, an argument basically. And he says, "You know what I'm going to do, Mark? I'm going to take this duffel bag with all this money that I'm assuming is illegal, and I'm going to take it to the police. And I'm going to have them imprison me and lock me away, and you will never be able to hurt anyone ever again." And as he steps out, we have Khonshu appear. And this is where we have the lights are flickering on and off, and as they do, Khonshu appears closer and closer. And then we have a weird scene where Steven is like running through the different locker area, and eventually he comes across Khonshu again. And Khonshu's basically degrading him and telling him to give Mark, his body. And Steven refuses, and he rushes out, trips on the way out in front of a motorcycle, and it turns out that the person riding the motorcycle is Layla. And so she gives Steven a ride. She's still in the impression this is Mark. She has no idea who Steven is. Like, she's just like, "You're Mark Spector. You're my husband." And he's like, "Wait, I'm married to this person? Like, what the hell is going on?" And he tells her, like, "Just take me home and I can explain everything." And so she drives him to his flat, and he invites her in. And she's like, "You're living here? Like, are you living here with someone?" Because like she notices his bed in the lock, in the sand and all that stuff. And he's like, "No, I live here by myself. Like, this is my mom's flat." And she's kind of confused. She's like, "Wait, you're talking to your mom? I thought you guys, did you fix that relationship?" And so, yeah, well, we get pieces that Mark is living a completely separate life from Steven. And as, the two of them are talking, she finds like this book of French poems, and Steven starts quoting it, and she's kind of confused at first. And he's like, "Oh, like it's my favorite piece." And she's like, "No, that's my favorite piece." And she realizes that he's studying Egyptian hieroglyphics. And then as they're talking about it, he discovers that she actually understands the hieroglyphics. She knows it's for like funeral rites. Like, so she's like, basically a lot of things that Steven enjoys and appreciates and has knowledge of, she has it as well. And he's like kind of starting to fall in love with this girl. And then she's like, "I have something to show you. Is this why you brought me here, to sign the papers?" And he's like, "What papers?" And she pulls out papers, and it's divorce papers. Mark was divorcing her. He's like, "What? Why would I divorce you? Like, you're a wonderful person. Mark is an absolute twat." And she's like confused, like, "Why are you talking about yourself like in the third person? Like, why are you referring to Mark as someone else? Why do you keep referring to yourself as a different person than Mark? Like, what's going on here?" And he wants to show her there's nothing wrong. There's something wrong with me. The bag can explain it. And he sees Mark's reflection. Mark's like, "Don't show her what's in the bag." And he starts ignoring her. He starts ignoring Mark. But eventually Mark's like, "If you bring her into this, she will be in danger. And anything that happens to you will be your fault because you showed her the scarab." And so he's like, "Never mind." But she pushes him out of the way, looks in the bag, finds the scarab. And then she's basically talking about how, like, "Why are you hiding this from me? Like, you've had this the whole time. All the adventures that we've had for months and months. And, you had this. Like, did you want this all for yourself?" And again, Steven's, like, confused. He's like, "I have no idea what's going on. Like, I'm not Mark. I'm Steven Grant. Like, if you want that, take it. Like, I don't want any of this stuff." And before, like, any other arguments can happen, there's a knock on the door. Before we get to that, I will say that this whole scene is just kind of weird in the sense that I always hated stuff in movies and TV shows where we have a character who is trying to explain something to another character, but they never just come right out and explain it. They dance around the subject. They're like, I'll explain everything to you, but then right when they get the chance, they don't. Instead, they kind of dance around it. They're very cryptic, very vague. And then the other person just thinks that they're lying or hiding something. And then we get more drama out of the situation when it's like, if you had just told them right from the get-go, everything would be fine. Like, just tell her right now, like, "I have no idea who Mark is. My name is Steven Grant. I've been having blackout. When I black out, I wake up in some other place. Somehow my body is being taken over, or I don't know if I'm sleepwalking or what. When I look in the reflection, I see myself, but myself is talking to me," and he refers to himself as Mark. "I have these people after me. I don't understand anything that's going on. I don't know who you are." Maybe she might not believe it or not, but just get everything out there. But we always have this situation where Characters don't do that. Characters are always like, I'll explain everything, but then when the chance comes to explain everything, they're very vague or they don't explain anything. And so now they find themselves in deeper trouble. I was like, oh my God, just freaking tell her what you need to tell her. But anyways, there's a knock on the door. It's police. And Steven thinks that they're there because of what happened at the museum. They force their way in, start questioning him, asking him, like, if he took anything from the museum. He's like, no, like, everything's fine. They ask if there's anyone in the flat with him. He says no. They look around, but they don't find Layla because Layla is hiding on the roof. They see the bag. They open it up. They see a bunch of money, and they see his passports, and they believe that he's not only a thief, but he's like an international criminal. So they handcuff him and take him into the police car. And so they're driving. And as they're driving, Mark's trying to tell him, like, hey, like, let me take control and I can get us out of the situation. As Steven again refuses. He's like, I will never give you control again. Like, you've caused me nothing but trouble. All this that we're in right now is because of you. Who knows what other trouble we're going to get into. I'll just deal with the police. And they pull up and they're not at the police station. Instead, they're at this alleyway. And Arthur's there. And Arthur basically starts talking to Steven and asking about the scarab and stuff. And he notices that Steven's acting kind of weird. He's like, he's here, isn't he? Like, Khonshu. And Steven's like, who's that? He's like, you're the avatar for Khonshu, just like I'm the avatar for Amit. You don't have to give up control to him. You don't have to listen to what he says. He's a liar. He's going to constantly tell you that he just has one more mission for you. But then there's always going to be one more mission. Like, you're never going to end this. It's best to just ignore him. Don't listen to anything he has to say. And so then Arthur, he frees Steven from the handcuffs and he tells him to follow him. And they have this conversation. And I actually really like this conversation because I like how they're portraying Arthur. Because in a lot of these Marvel stories, you have the big bad villain who wants to destroy the world or take over the world or just something nefarious just to be evil. But Arthur actually has a very sympathetic goal. And it's like a goal that you can kind of relate to, even if it's a goal for a good thing, but he's going about it the wrong way. So basically, he's showing Steven this block that they're in. He's like, this used to be the most highly criminal area, constant thefts, murders, and stuff. But now there's not. Now there's peace. Now everybody is kind to each other. People don't have to lock their doors because it's safe. Kids are playing outside. He takes Steven into this building where people are, like, watching movies, where people are eating food together and they don't have to pay for anything. It's basically like a utopia. Yeah, he basically explains to him, like, I'm the avatar for Amit. And Amit is a judge. And the problem with Khonshu is that Khonshu judges evil and punishes criminals, but only after the crime has already been committed. Only after people have already been hurt. Amit instead stops that from happening because she judges before people commit the crime. And we have like a battle of philosophy where Steven is like talking about how, like, but you're punishing people before they committed any kind of crime. Like, isn't that wrong to basically hurt people in that, to like stop people in that way? And Arthur has this really good metaphor where he's like, well, the difference between an antidote and poison is just the amount of dosage that you use. Let's say your hand becomes infected. Sometimes you need to cut it off at the wrist to save the rest of the body. Steven brings up, well, what about children? Are you going to kill children before they commit any crimes? Like, I can't abide by that. And so Arthur's thing is, well, sometimes it has to be done because sometimes those criminals end up becoming Hitler or becoming Stalin or becoming whatever. Like, sometimes you have to stop people before they become a greater evil. And so sometimes you have to punish people, even if they're perfectly good and innocent, they are going to become evil. So you have to punish them before they become evil and commit their crime. So we have that whole Minority Report that I mentioned from episode 1. So that's why I like the Arthur character. I don't believe in the Arthur character. I don't believe in the Minority Report thing. But I like the fact that he wants to do good. He wants to bring peace. He wants to bring a place where he wants to bring heaven on earth. He wants to make earth a place where people don't commit any crimes, where everyone can live in peace. It's just that he's going about that the wrong way, in the sense that he's punishing people pre-crime. I like just the fact that it's like he's not a full-on evil person. It's just the way he wants to go about his goals. You kind of have to do some dirty things. But yeah, he asked for the scarab, because the scarab points to Amit's body. And what he wants to do is he wants to resurrect Amit. He wants Amit to take control. Because right now, like the cane that he has, it has only a fraction of Amit's true power. But if he can resurrect Amit, she can judge the entire world and get rid of all the evil people, or all the people who are going to commit evil, and then we'll live in peace. And of course, Steven is against that, just in the sense that, like, I'm fine with punishing criminals, but I'm not okay with punishing people before they've committed anything to be punished for. And eventually, Layla shows up with the scarab. She walks over to Steven, and then she's like, release the suit. And he's like, I have no idea what you're doing. She's like, summon the suit. Summon it. Like, I've seen you do it before. I believe in you. And he's like, I can't do it. Like, I've never done it before. And I like this part where Layla says, I believe in you, Steven. So rather than, seeing him as Mark, she's going under the belief that, okay, you're telling me the truth. You're Steven. I believe in you, Steven. And I like that. One of my worries was that Layla was going to be a character who was basically going to be the sassy, sarcastic, let's just be frank, the bitch. Because we've seen that so many times in Marvel stories. We've seen that so many times, whether it's movies, TV shows, comics, where especially comics, where we have the female character have to constantly degrade and deride the male character to prop themselves up. Like the male character is just this pushover, idiotic, stupid weakling who can't do anything right, and the female has to come in and save the day. And I was like, oh, please, God, do not let that happen here. And I will say, it doesn't really necessarily happen here. Layla shows up. She has the scarab. She gives it to Steven and tells him, like, I believe in you, summon the suit. And he can't. And then that's when everyone starts trying to attack the two. That's when Arthur starts summoning some of his power from the cane. And so Layla and Steven start trying to run out of the building. And along the way, we have moments where, like, we have a moment where Layla is fighting someone and she shoves him off a scaffolding, and he crashes down below. And Steven's watching. He's like, "Oh wow, that was awesome." I was like, "Oh okay." Like, that's one thing that's a little bit annoying, is when you constantly have, because maybe it's because I see this so many times in comic books where the female characters always do something great, and then like everyone is always like congratulating them and telling them how awesome they are, and it's just, even though it's just a little throwaway line, it hits this chord with me, because it's like, I've seen it so many times. Please do not go down this route. But thankfully that's kind of it. Thankfully, the two are able to run out. They run into this part of the building where they lock the door, and there's something banging on the door, and she's like, Steven, like, you gotta summon the suit. And even Mark is yelling at him from the reflection, like, give me control of the body, I can take care of this. But Steven refuses, and Steven's trying to summon the suit on his own, but he can't. And that's when a jackal breaks down the door and starts rushing in. And he's like, Jackal, Jackal, and Layla doesn't see anything. And I was like, okay, so this explains why there's nothing on the camera. It's because people who are not avatars can see this thing. This thing is invisible to everyone, except for, I'm assuming, Arthur and Steven / Mark. So anyways, the thing tackles Steven outside, breaks through a window, they fall. And as they're falling, Khonshu yells at him, summon the suit, you idiot. And so he tries, and he summons the suit just as he hits a pillar and hits the ground. And so he gets up, and his suit is different. His suit is not the suit from the first episode, but instead his suit is an actual all-white suit with white gloves and a white little face mask. And Mark is staring at him in the reflection saying, what the hell is this? Why are we dressed up like this? And he's like, well, they told me to summon a suit, so I'm summoning a suit. It looks pretty good though, right? Yeah, eventually the jackal comes down. Steven tries to fight off the jackal, but he's getting his ass kicked. Layla shows up at one point. She gets hit, and then that's when she like gets a bottle and throws it at what she assumes is where the jackal is, and it shatters, and we see a little bit of the jackal, and she can see like a little glimpse of it as like the liquid is dripping down its body. She sees the liquid like outline, and she realizes, okay, there's actually a jackal here. And she tries to help Steven, but she gets her butt kicked, and she almost gets killed when Steven saves her and tries to get its attention. And I'm like, okay, good. Like, I like this. I like the fact that we have a non-power character getting beat up by this thing because she doesn't have superpowers. Like, I don't want a character who comes in and saves the day for our hero who doesn't have any powers. The one thing I was fearing that they were going to have Layla come in and beat up the jackal all on her own and basically like degrade Steven's like, what the hell's wrong with you? You have this power and you can't do anything, and I'm the one who can do it myself, and I have no powers. Like, man up. Like, I was fearing that was going to happen. Just because, again, like I've read too many Marvel comics, and that's what they all do. But thankfully, no. Thankfully, they didn't do that. She tries to fight it. She holds her own for a bit, but she's getting beat up. She's about to get killed, or that's what it looks like when Steven hits it and then tries to get its attention. We have this really weird suit where Steven is saying something, but the fake British accent and the mask makes it really hard. So it sounds like he's just mumbling. All I can really make out is float like a butterfly, sting like a bee, and that's kind of it. And then we see the poor CGI of the jackal. And eventually the fight gets into the middle of the street where a bunch of people are watching. Mark is like, look at all the people around here. You're going to get someone hurt. Give me the power. Let me take over the body, and I will deal with this. And so eventually Steven's like, all right, fine, for a little while. And so Mark takes over. The suit changes into the Moon Knight suit. He leads the jackal up onto the building rooftops. The thing's chasing him. And then eventually he dives off the building just as the jackal tackles him. And in the air, he grabs the jackal and he throws it. He like slams it through this spiked pillar and kills it. And then Mark has the suit dissolve away. And then he's searching his body for the scarab. And he doesn't have it. And he's pissed off. And then that's when he sees the reflection of Steven in a nearby mirror. And Steven's like wondering, like, is this what it's like? Like, it's cold here. I can hardly move. I don't like this. Give me my body back. And Mark refuses. Mark refuses to give him the body back. Mark says, like, you know, I have something I need to take care of. I have one last mission I need to do. And I can't have you stopping me. So I have to do it. And as this is going on, Khonshu is basically he shows up and he's kind of a dick. He kind of comes out to be the villain in all this. He basically tells him, like, you were nothing. Like, you were nothing but a corpse until I came around. I'm the one who saved you. Like, you're mine. You told me this little idiot, referring to Steven, wasn't going to get in our way, but he is. Make sure he doesn't. Like, you know, you foolishly lost the scarab, and now Arthur has it. And we see Arthur. He finds the scarab, and now he has it in his control. Yeah, that Khonshu is just constantly riding on Mark's ass and just constantly degrading him and stuff, and says, you're not living up to your potential. You're not doing what you promised me, and if you can't, I will choose my next avatar. And the next avatar is Layla. So Mark is doing this so that Layla doesn't get cursed by Khonshu or have to be forced to be his avatar and stuff like that. Because, Khonshu basically threatens to claim Layla as the next avatar. I don't know if he's doing that because he thinks she'll be better or because she is close to Mark and Mark is using like his feelings for her to kind of push Mark, further. But either way, Khonshu comes across as a villain here. And he basically, he informs him, like, we don't have the amulet. You lost it. It's now in the hands of Arthur. And Mark's like, well, we may not have the amulet, but we just have to find Amit's body. Like, if we can do that, we can stop Amit from being resurrected. Khonshu's like, all right, let's go. And Mark's like, where are we going? And then that's when we have like a flash, and Mark wakes up with the beer bottle, watching Steven in the mirror trying to get loose, but he refuses to give Steven his body back. and he opens up the windows and they're in Egypt. And that's how it ends. I will say this was another really, really good issue. I really like the Arthur character so far. Like, I mean, he's a villain, and I'm not rooting for him or anything like that. But I like the fact that he's not just a cardboard Saturday morning cartoon villain. Like, he has layers. He wants to do good. He wants to bring peace on Earth. But the way he's going about it is not very good. Like, judging people pre-crime is not a really good thing we ever want. And yeah, I like the fact that basically it's like a battle of philosophies between Mark/Steven and Arthur. Like, Steven's all for punishing criminals and evildoers, but only after they've committed a crime. You can't punish an innocent person for something that they may or may not do. So I like that. The Layla character has actually been pretty good so far. Like, I have no problems with her whatsoever. I was a bit worried that she was going to be like every other Marvel comic book and Marvel show that we've had so far, where we have to have the super cool badass female who's better than everybody and who doesn't need no man. But so far, she's not. Like, she can hold her own, but she still needs Mark/Steven to use their powers to fight, you know, the Jackal and stuff like that. Like, she gets her ass kicked by that thing. Plus, she's not constantly trashing Steven. She's acting the way that someone would act if your spouse came up to you and started acting like a completely different person that had and was pretending that they had no, or acting like they had no idea who you were. Like, she's confused. She's a bit angry because she believes that, you know, Mark just upped and disappeared on her for 2 months. But she's willing to go along with all this stuff later on. I got no problems with her character whatsoever. She's, I think, written pretty well in this episode. I'm hoping it continues that way. I don't want to have to hate the series because I'm really liking this series so far. Again, the only problems is like the CGI. It's kind of terrible. I get the CGI for the Jackal. Again, for Khonshu, have a guy dressed up and just CGI the parts that you need to CGI. If you need to CGI the skull so it's floating and you don't see like a neck, then just CGI that part. But have someone in a costume, because the CGI is not working. It's not the worst CGI I've ever seen, but it's obviously CGI and it doesn't need to be. Like, there's plenty of parts where you could have just done practical effects or just had someone in a costume. And yeah, other than that, I really enjoyed the episode. I like that we're really picking things up. Characters are pretty well written. Again, there's just some moments where it's just like, come on, Steven. Like the fact where he continues going back to work. Even after he's been killed almost multiple times there, he keeps going back. The fact that, I liked how in this episode, so that kind of bugged me. I did, however, like the fact that he grew a backbone here. Like, he's actually willing to fight, and, you know, he created his own suit so he didn't have to let Mark take over, and he tries to fight the Jackal on his own. So, yeah, he's growing a backbone. He's actually doing stuff good. Yeah, other than, again, the CGI, I don't really have any qualms about this episode. I thought it was really good. I'll give it another 8 out of 10. And that's just because, like, my ranking is, I like to think it's kind of hard to get a perfect. Like, it's almost impossible for anything to get a perfect 10 out of 10. But this was really up there. This is close. This is a great episode, great series so far. We'll see how episode 3 is, but I'm loving this series. I don't have really that much complaints other than, again, just the CGI and then the nitpick on Steven's character being too much of a carpet for people to walk all over. But at least that seemed to only be an episode 1 thing. While he's still kind of a weakling here, at least he's starting to grow and becoming more of a fighter and developing more of a backbone when it comes to, you know, certain situations. So that's good. So yeah, I like where this is going, and we'll see if episode 3 continues on to be great. I'm hoping so, because like I said, like I'm really enjoying the series, and I want to end the series enjoying it. Like it's so hard to find good series nowadays that, you know, I actually find enjoyable. A lot of new shows I try to watch are pretty terrible. That's why I usually stick to anime and stuff, or to old shows. I've pretty much been watching just a bunch of shows from like the 60s and 70s and things like that, because the new stuff are pretty bad. Like the good stuff is very few and far in between. But this has been really good, and so I'm hoping it stays really good because I do not want to hate this. I'm really enjoying myself so far, and I'm hoping that the series continues to be good. But yeah, there you go. Episode number 2 of Moon Knight, Summon the Suits. Really, really good. Recommend, 8 out of 10. This has been a really great series so far, and I'm hoping it keeps up. But yeah, hope you guys enjoyed the video. Tell me your thoughts. I would like to hear what you think of the series so far, what you think of my reviews. If there's anything you think I should change, let me know, and I will try to do that. But yeah, hope you enjoyed. See you next time. Take care, everybody. Later.